What's up, family? Welcome to another episode of the Chip Off the Old Block podcast. We are back. I'm your host, CJ Matthews, here with my co-host, the Notorious
Dr. CJ Matthews the first, here, ready. A lot to talk about.
Yeah, a lot to talk about. It's a lot of stuff that we missed. So we'll see, what all we can get with. But man, it was a crazy weekend. That storm, I don't know about no other places. I ain't been watching the national weather, but locally here, Northeast Ohio, Cleveland, yesterday it was storming so bad. It was gale force winds, and it's this tree in my backyard. I thought it was gonna fall yesterday. I'm sitting in the bathroom, the tree just blowing. I'm like, oh my God, this thing about to knock everything down.
Right. Yeah, it was. I looked out. Power went out. Thank God it came back on. A few 100,000 people, I think, were without power. So it affected some power cycles more than others. I think we lost some stuff. One of our electrical people was in, and actually some got fried, I think, and so they're replacing it. And but again, it reminds me of the grace of God, because as challenging as that was for that small amount of time yesterday, think about the hurricanes that have repeatedly come through.
Yeah.
Louisiana,
man,
parts of Florida, and I mean repeatedly this year, and it's been those people have been devastated.
Right, and you think about like Haiti, and this is like a constant onslaught sort of. I'm like, man, that's just unfortunate.
Right, and again, it goes back to how old stories and things like that. You see somebody, you think you're in bad shape, and then you see somebody.
No, yeah.
But it was intense for a moment, because I was in my office and I was working on something too, and the power went off, and I was like, thank God for the computers today, recover everything, because I was working on something pretty. Everything I do is really, really intense and serious, but that's not true.
Yeah, depends how you look at it. But that was crazy. It caused a delay in the Browns game, but they was able to finish it. And they was able to finish it.
Well, they got a win in the wind.
They got a win in the wind.
Yeah,
it wasn't. It was a little ugly, but sometimes that's what it takes.
Well, if you can't win pretty and you win ugly, hallelujah.
Yeah, I take it for sure.
We had a coach used to tell us all the time, is I'm not going to talk about how you won until we get in the film room.
Right. Yeah.
And then we get in the film room. Look at you. So a lot of things you were doing back then, I don't know if they're still doing that now. You were doing it because when no highlight reels back then, it was the film room and the coach reading you the riot act.
Yeah. But we got a couple players, man.
Chubb.
Myles Garrett, Chubb.
And Kareem Hunt yesterday. See, and you can't beat that combination.
Yeah, that's a nice one too.
I'm telling you, matter of fact,
we really got a 1-2-3.
Absolutely.
That 1-2 is nice.
Well, each one of them went over 100 yards, and that's the first time the Browns had two backs go over 100 yards since 1966.
Wow.
Leroy Kelly and Ernie Green.
Yeah. Wow. Leroy Kelly.
Right. You met him at the golf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great guy. So it was a good day. Challenging. The weather was horrible, but that's Cleveland weather on the lake. First Energy Stadium is on the lake, baby.
Yeah.
We don't have the Hawk, but we got something.
Yeah, we definitely do got something.
Yeah, we have something.
But it was good to see them win. It was really just a great week and weekend all around for sports.
Masters in November.
Yeah, who would have ever thought about that? Because typically it's in April.
I'm telling you.
It's the first major of the year. I was really hopeful for Tiger, obviously. I'm always rooting for him, although everybody didn't give him a chance. But, nobody expected him to win last year, and what'd he do? Got another green jacket.
Well, I like to think like this, that Tiger's on autopilot. And then every now and then, if he can smell blood, he'll say, go for it.
No, 100%. It's like
when you get to be that wealthy and the accomplishments he made at such a young age, and then the consistency over time, I mean, it's just incredible. And then, you know, still to play at the level he plays at, given the fact that what a lot of people don't understand is the technology is changing constantly. These young guys coming in don't have the consistency, but because of what he did.
No, 100%.
It changed the whole way that golfers who were not athletes.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Dustin Johnson.
Oh, no, that's it.
He could be a tight end anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and so you know, it's and don't, you know, both of you and I, you know, like the game and play the game, but it still was exciting to see somebody go 20 under at Augusta. Man.
No, man, you know, that's the thing. Obviously, I'm always rooting for Tiger, but there's a couple of those guys that I enjoy, and Dustin Johnson's one of those. So I was happy to see him get his second green jacket.
Yeah.
Or was this his second green?
Major.
Second
First
major.
green
Yeah. He won, I think, the U.S. Open.
But he grew up in, I think they said, either Savannah, Georgia, or somewhere not far from there.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Second major. I think he won the U.S. Open.
Yeah, second major.
But he did that. He did that in record fashion, 20 under. That was crazy. It was good to see, you know, enjoy another major championship in November. So, you know.
And then I know we beat Houston yesterday, and I know that every time Kylie Murray throws DeAndre Hopkins a touchdown, I know Deshaun is like, why didn't they fire this dude sooner?
Man, that's rough.
Your buddy, your best boy, your best weapon, your best target is down there killing it. Kylie Murray said, well, we ain't got no prayer, but we do have DeAndre Hopkins.
Shotgun. Murray out of the pocket. 7 seconds. 6 seconds. Murray heaves it downfield. It is. Oh, it's caught. It is caught. DeAndre Hopkins.
That's a fact.
And he threw that ball. It was like, and I hadn't been watching the whole game, but you know, I wound up watching the end of it. And it's like, oh man, Buffalo done scored again. It's over. Man, that kid threw that ball, and it just seemed like everybody was around DeAndre Hopkins. And so when he went up and he came down, the ref lifted his arms and the announcer said touchdown. I'm like, am I missing something? Did he catch that? I couldn't see.
Yeah, the picture is just crazy. I mean, that's what you know, that's what players of his caliber do. You know, that's a top tier, top 5 receiver, and you know, it's plays like that just let you know it's not a fluke. That's the type of thing that he's able to do.
That kid, you know, he's and that's the other joy I have, and watching these young guys and seeing them just explode in the game in ways that's just unbelievable and almost to some degree, if you believe in this, miraculous. You know, in the sense that they just can perform at such high levels, and you know, and then for Kyler Murray being the young man that he was, Heisman Trophy, the size that he is, and then for Arizona to take the shot on him, you know, and give him that chance, you know, even though he was undersized, and for him to actually start gaining ground and performing, because sometimes it'd be like, because to me he looked like Derek out there to all those big guys.
Yeah.
You know, when Derek was playing football, Derek would be so little, and I'd be like out there praying so hard. and so when they coming at him, you know, I'm like, oh no, please Lord, don't let him hit him.
Oh wow, yeah, he only 5'10".
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's not little, but when you around a bunch of guys that's 6'5", 6'7", you know, and weighing 300 pounds, you know, he's not out there with the receivers. He's back there with the linemen.
No, that's just like Russell Wilson.
Absolutely.
But you know, just to see them,
oh man,
you know, and it's that era. That era has been coming, and it's here.
Oh no! See, and you saw that yesterday in the New England game, because the young man who threw the touchdown was a quarterback in high school,
right?
And they turned him into a receiver in college.
Yeah.
All right, and he threw that pass as good as anybody.
Right.
All right, and so you know, Cam was dueling Lamar, you know, and Cam looked good yesterday.
Yeah, that's good to see, because everybody has had him written off. And I know, like, he's been through so much with the injuries, coronavirus, and, you know, and I hate to say this, no offense to New England, even though I really don't. I'm not a fan of New England at all. It just seems like he doesn't have any help, and then obviously he gonna be the scapegoat.
Oh, without a doubt. But the good thing about it was he went there knowing that. Yeah. He was not oblivious. He know they're writing him off. He know Belichick gave him a shot because he has nothing. Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean, we've never seen New England team like this in 15, 20 years.
Longer than that.
No weapons. And so, and that's to be respectful to their defense, the McCourtney boys. And their coach, Belichick. But he's still playing at a level that gives them a shot.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to see that, especially coming back after COVID, because those first couple of weeks, and everybody was trashing them. I'm like, we don't even know the effects of that stuff on people, and every individual is different. And he wouldn't use it as an excuse, and certainly I'm not trying to make it as an excuse for him. But you can see the transformation over the last 4 weeks, those 2 weeks and the last 2 weeks, and how each week it seems like he's getting better.
Yeah, 100%. I was listening to a rapper. I was listening to a rapper talk, and he had it early on, and he has asthma.
Wow.
But basically he was just saying like his asthma had never caused him a problem before, but once getting the virus, now it's like a thing. He got to take the inhaler every day and like that. But up until that point in his life, it had never been an issue for him.
Right.
We just don't know.
And I mean, again, science is moving forward. The medical community is moving forward because that's what they do. The political narrative, unfortunately, has squashed and almost made the real noise that we should be listening to. And that's what the science is evolving to and what the medical community is evolving to. The political noise has, taken attention away from that. And, there are vaccines coming out, potentially within the next 3 to 6 months, because I never believe their timelines because, again, they have done warp speed, okay? And so the trust factor is going to be critical. And people's willingness to participate is going to be critical. And there's a lot of skepticism because of the political narrative.
Yeah. There's a lot of skepticism. Whenever it comes to any kind of vaccination, I'm definitely skeptic. But a lot of people they look to that, and it needs to be available. Now the issue comes when you're talking about our rights. See, then it becomes a whole nother issue about how do you enforce it? Does it become mandatory and all of those kinds of things? So there's a whole bunch of conspiracy theories, if you will. And though maybe they're not conspiracy theories, but as far as like Bill Gates and his whole involvement, and he was happy with Joe Biden because that's the kind of work that he's into. And if you just know the history of him and his family as it deals with like eugenics and that whole thing. So all of these connections and all of these rumors and information and noises out there. So amidst everything, it's like, how do you find that right information and how do you know what to listen to?
Right. Absolutely. And again, we're coming to a place in this world, and many people have always been there where, you have a medical team already.
Right.
Prayerfully. And that's the importance of having your own doctor. And I know a lot of people don't have that.
And that's a huge thing because, and I don't have the numbers to look at, but it's a significant amount of the population that doesn't have a primary care doctor.
Absolutely. And that's been one of our goals with the program we do with Cleveland Clinic. The SKIP program is just, whether they come to Cleveland Clinic or not, and that's one of the reasons why I like the program is we want everybody to have a primary care doctor.
Yeah. See, because, all right, so obviously when you in sports, you got to get physicals every year. So that was my routine. You got to get a physical. So then once I was removed for a couple of years, I'm like, I don't want to be that dude, just that typical or that stereotypical dude where it's like, oh, something wrong with me? Oh, well, like, I don't want to go to the doctor, hear nothing about it. So I start going back to the doctor that I went to as a kid because I'm like, well, who else I'm going to go to? I don't know. I'm going to just go here. They're like, what? We haven't seen you in years. So I go back and I get a physical. And I'm healthy. And she's like, but she told me something that shocked me. She was like, "Oh, well, you're working out and whatever. You don't have any issues. You don't have to get a physical every year." I'm like, "What? I don't know about that. I think you're supposed to get checked up at least once a year, if nothing else." And for certain tests and stuff, I haven't reached the age yet, but I feel like it's just.
Well, that's why I like Dr. Motlin's program. He's our community. He's a brilliant doctor.
Mm-hmm.
All right, he's one of the best in the world at what he does.
No, 100%.
I mean, he wouldn't be there if he wasn't.
Right.
But I mean, his community initiative is so powerful. Where he's trying to get African American males in and get all the tests and and all that stuff is free. But I remember my going to my doctor like you, and I fortunately I grew up in a home where my dad had a job that had health care.
Yeah.
So dental care, and stuff. So we went to the eye doctor. We went to all of those things. And so it's just a natural part of my life. And I remember going and I go to all these doggone black workshops for black this and black that. So they was talking about these different things. So I told my doctor, I said, I want to get, she said, well, you don't need to get checked for that. I said, listen. She said, I don't know if the insurance company will pay for it. I said, listen here. Let's establish this now. You're the doctor. I pay the bills. You do what needs to be done. Let me worry about getting paid for.
Right.
And I said, no, here's one better. All right. When you send it in to the insurance company, tell them I'm an African-American male, tell them my age, and I was in my 40s. Tell them my age and tell them I'm high risk.
Yeah.
Because if you're black, they think you're high risk. No, they don't even question it.
Yeah. No, but that, and we wasn't going here, but it's like, you said you grew up in a household where that was a thing. I also grew up in a household, I had access, but so many people don't. And to think that everyone should have access to that, to think that that's, to call that, oh, that's socialism, and that's just it just shows a lack of care for humanity. That shows a lack of humanity to me.
Well, and again, to all of my Christian nation people, the hypocrisy of America is on our money to say, in God we trust.
Right.
So for somebody to point to that as an affirmation of this nation's respect for God, no, they just want to touch all bases.
Yeah.
In case there's a God, keep my money. Right. But the fact that we would allow people to not have access to some of the best medical care in the world speaks to our humanity much more than biblical values. I remember, and I think I shared this on a podcast early on, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's a multi-millionaire. Mm-hmm. All right. And we were having this discussion. Yeah. And I told him, I said, listen, I would pay more for my health care if that meant everybody could have health care.
Right.
He said, CJ, yep, I believe you would. You're that kind of Christian. Yeah, but, and I think that, yes, it is because I love the Lord, but I think more so I love people.
Right.
I love people. And if there's this thing that could keep this family out of pain, that's why this pandemic has really bothered me. Wearing a mask is so simple. Yeah. Same thing with not gathering. I didn't stop gathering because the state or DeWine said stop gathering. He has no right over my church. Mm-hmm. I know the law. Right. Fully. All right. But why am I going to bring people in here in the name of God and put them at risk?
Yeah. So, and then, okay, let's get into this, because there's this whole other train of thought and conversation about this, about, well, that's just showing a lack of faith. And, the church has been bowing to the coronavirus, and that's a whole conversation. So what's your response to that?
Now, if their perception of my faith is that I'm bowing to the coronavirus, keep it, have it, wonderful. I'm real clear about my faith, all right? And I'm real clear about the word of God.
Right.
and I understand the power of God.
Okay.
Because I prayed our noonday prayer call, and I believe God for several people in our congregation who've been tested positive.
Right.
I believe God for their healing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But I'm also going to believe God for the medical attention they're receiving and for their proper behavior.
Right.
Because I know God heals miraculously. I know God heals through medicine. Some things God heals naturally. Prick your finger and scabs up, and you don't go to no doctor and get no surgeries. Sometimes you slice it and you need stitches. All that healing comes from God. So when this thing first happened, we had several conversations around faith and our faith response to the pandemic. And the Lord took me really quickly to Jesus' temptation, all right, and how Satan tried to tempt him to jump off the place and do this and do that. And he kept saying, it is written, thou shalt live by the word of God. So for me, this was not a test of my faith, all right. This was how close do I come to somebody with the pandemic. Now, if I wanted to believe for somebody's healing, I would anoint them with oil, knowing they have the pandemic, and believe and pray the prayer of faith for them. I have no problem doing that.
Right.
But as far as wearing my mask and, you know me, I'm going to have gloves on. I'm going to make me keep them on. And my gloves on. I'm going to socially distance, not because I don't have any faith, but because I respect the dangers in earth. And this pandemic is one of those dangers. And I respect what it does to the human body that's going back to the dirt. Just like if somebody shoots me, I might live, but I might die. So I'm going to respect the dude with the gun. Now, I probably ain't begging, and I ain't been in that situation in many, many years, and pray I never have to go back in it, okay?
Right.
And back then I wouldn't beg, so thank God I'm still here because I was crazy, okay? So, you know, and that's for every individual.
Yeah.
You know, but you can't test my faith by the fact that I am not willing to not social distance, and if you come in this building, you're going to have a mask, and I ain't hugging you.
Right.
Now, for people who need to do that, I told a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, I ain't going to call his name, but he going to be listening to the podcast. I told him, I said, your anointing is bigger than mine. So what did that mean? Hallelujah. You got the bigger anointing.
Yeah.
Because he and praise God, and the grace on his life and his faith has allowed him to not stop doing anything. And I admire him for that. You know, and so I think your faith takes you where you believe you can go. You know, I was reading an article yesterday about John MacArthur's church in California and how he has denied everything they've said. And now, you know, when his pastors died and different people are dying, but out of 7,000 people, it's just been a few people. I'm not willing to risk one person.
Yeah.
I have no control over that. I technically don't really have control over whether we're gathering or not. That's a decision we make together with the elders, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But so far, we've been on one accord with that decision.
Yeah. And, you know, right. And to a couple of things, I guess, to that point, which is the first one being, you know, just like we always say, it's real easy to hate. So until you're in the position where you have to be the one making those decisions, it's easy to say.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. I used to tell people all the time, you know, he's a sellout. She's a sellout. I used to tell them, I said, until you say no to a briefcase full of money, you better keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, most people would never be in that position, so they could say this.
They would never. See, I've been in that doggone position. Mm-hmm. Now, I won't name any names and organizations, but it's not as easy as people think.
100%. So it's real easy to say this and that when you're not in a position. But as well as when it comes to faith, you see, to me, you know, if you go to the definition of faith, it's about trust.
Absolutely.
So in your relationship with God, if God is saying this,
right,
then faith is to respond to that.
Absolutely.
Where if God is saying this to you, then faith to you
Absolutely.
is responding to that. And, you know, it's not just like, It's literally the fact that God may be saying this to this person, God may be saying that to that person. Both things can be true, and I'm operating in faith by responding to what He's saying to me.
Right. And all of us are building, for those of us who believe this, believe in faith and believe in God and Jesus Christ is the source of our faith. I mean, we're building that faith rubric, that faith perspective, that faith language all the time.
Right.
You know, as I said in my sermon this past Sunday, you know, for years, you know, and I was in the street, but I believed that my grandmother's prayers could protect me.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to leave my car running on 105th and Euclid. I go inside the club. We called it a bar at that time. And I knew my car was going to be out there when I came back, and it would be out there. Okay? All kind of crazy stuff. It was so crazy, and it showed me how far I was going down the road of demonic activity.
Okay.
All right? But I believed that my grandmother's prayers was protecting me.
Mm. Yeah.
And because I believed that, I thought I was invincible. Now, I was not, praise God. He did not let the bullets come near me, okay? All right? I was a chump and didn't know it, okay? All right? But I believe that. And the night that God pulled me out of the pig pen and into the reality of God, the voice that He spoke to me with and the words that He said to me was, "You've been living on your grandmother's prayers too long." Mm. I fainted in my spirit because I just knew I was about to die.
Yeah.
So I got up and came to church that next morning. I've been here ever since. They said, at first I was just hiding from all them people because I knew they couldn't find me in the church. And then it was like, you know, and then, you know, ultimately God revealed His will and all the other stuff that happened. But it was really funny because it was that simple for God to say that to me. Because when He said, because my faith was so powerfully bound to the fact that she was praying for my safety every day. Mm. It's a word to grandmothers, you don't know. You know, and we just had, unfortunately, a grandmother get shot and killed right here in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And that just hit me so hard because of the love I have for my grandmother.
Yeah,
100%. I just couldn't imagine that family and those, you know, children and grandchildren, you know, that happened to her. At that age, you've been blessed to live, have some health and mental capacity, all the positive things that were in her life, and just unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm definitely praying for that family. And, you know, not even just that family, but the activity that's been going on lately has been like, it seems as though it's been more ramped up.
Well, you know, the spirit of violence, the behaviors and the characteristics that lead to it, the beefs that occur, the anger that exists in some people, or just a spontaneous reaction, you know, to something.
Because it's a combination of all of that.
And you know, it's then you put a pandemic on top of that.
Right.
Then you put whatever the other life challenges haven't stopped because we're in a pandemic.
Exactly.
Okay. And the increase in violence has nothing to do with whether it's a Democratic mayor or a Republican mayor.
100%.
The increase in violence is because everything that's associated with those challenges has been what? Magnified. More poverty, more less educational opportunity, just the whole gamut of things. And unfortunately, the political narrative gets the attention.
Right.
All right. That's why shows such as ours is going to be more important in the future. And the thousands of people, ordinary people who are just saying ordinary things, that people can tune out some of that crazy stuff, because it's only going to get crazier as we go forward.
Yeah.
It's only going to get crazier.
And that's the sad part.
Right.
And I don't want to say scary, but you don't like to necessarily think about it.
But think about it. All right. Think about this. All right. When I grew up with news, my grandfather watched the news every day. Mm-hmm. And because I wanted to be with him, I watched the news every day. Right. I'm a little kid. I don't know what's going on, you know, but dudes went on the moon and different things. So I'm with my grandfather every day listening to the news. It was no big thing. It didn't scare me. Or it didn't make me not want to listen to it.
Yeah.
But over time, it has become a medium for oppression.
Yeah.
A medium to, I've always wondered why every time we turn around, some news organization is doing a study on black people.
Yeah.
All right. Why do we have to know that 1 in 5 black men die by the age of 25? Why do we have to know that?
Right.
Without doing anything about it.
Yeah.
All right. A guy named Jeff Johnson, not either one of the Jeff Johnsons we know, councilman, former councilman. Now I think Jeff works for the mayor, attorney Jeff Johnson, or Jeff Johnson, what do they call Jeff now on BET?
Cousin Jeff.
Cousin Jeff, you know. And,
Hold on, that Jeff Johnson?
No, not neither one of those.
Oh, so not from Cleveland?
No.
Oh.
This is a third Jeff Johnson.
Hold on.
He wrote a book called about the African American male.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking
and
about.
he compared it to the bald eagle.
Yeah.
And how they determined in this country that they were going to save the bald eagle. He wrote this book many years ago.
Yeah. Mommy was trying to get me to read it when I was a kid.
And so Dr. Johnson, he wrote this book many years ago, and but he was comparing it and how, as an endangered species, all of the things they put in place around the country to rescue, save, nurture, take care of, and make sure that we would have bald eagles. And he was just showing how much less of an effort it would take to make sure black males, as an endangered species, we could protect them.
Yeah. And yeah, to that point, that's why certain efforts are being done to make, like, so for instance, like, and you probably know more about this than me, racism and kind of thing, a public health crisis. Because once certain things are done, then that means automatically resources are allocated to that. But the same thing needs to be said about the violence, right?
Well, see, maybe 20 plus years ago, I know I'm going to be saying that as long as y'all listen to the podcast. So keep listening. But the late Congressman Louis Stokes had a conference at Liberty Hill Baptist Church to make violence epidemic.
Epidemic, exactly. That's
he had
the
that
epidemic.
conference more than 20 years ago, because him being a legislature knew exactly what you just said. Once we could raise it to that level, then the resources would follow.
Right.
Okay, and so when we look at the Olympics, all right, every 4 years. So we look at a presidential election every 4 years. Well, no one jumps into the Olympics.
This is a lifetime worth of training.
A few people jumped into the marathon, tried to act like they was running the whole marathon. But anyway, that's
rabbits.
So every year we have training for the 4th year. That's local elections.
Yeah.
State legislatures and all those things. Doesn't matter what party or color they are. What are they doing to develop legislation to create these opportunities to make a difference in our communities? What are they doing about education? All right. In Ohio, we know for the last 30 years, the Ohio Supreme Court has ruled that the funding formula for schools is wrong. But no legislative group has done anything to change it.
The last 30 years?
30 years. Ever since I've been in leadership. Not leadership, I don't like that word. Ever since I've been a pastor. I don't believe in this black.
That's my whole life.
I don't believe.
That's
that's your whole life.
That's a whole generation.
All right. But you don't hear anybody holding them accountable. All right. Okay. Congressman Stokes, the late Congressman Stokes, more than 25 years ago, violence as a epidemic. Pandemic's just in my spirit, forgive me.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because he knew the resources. He was one of the most powerful legislators in the history of our Congress and the African American community.
Yeah.
Okay. So today we've got to either re-educate ourselves, re-engage ourselves in the real discussions, And that's why I'm saying to people, stop hating on each other. We're not each other's enemy.
We're not each other's enemy. And that's the design, though. If we fighting each other, then...
Yeah, we can't afford right now to lose one black organization, one black group, one black voice. And we know, and I know I'm the one in my group. I'm the one. I'm the radical one, okay, in my relationships, okay? All right, but we can't afford to lose one voice.
Yeah.
Okay, all right? Why? Because right now, the question of am I my sister's keeper, am I my brother's keeper, is something we got to really believe in.
Yeah.
All right? And then those of us who believe that, we don't need all black people to do nothing. They don't get all white people to do nothing. 76 million voted for Biden, 70 million voted for Trump, all right? And proportionately, that was a whole bunch of white people on one side and a whole bunch of white people on another side. But we believe unless all black people come to one place, we can't do nothing. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. Jesus took 12, and one of them was like, I'm going to kill the rest of y'all if y'all go to sleep because I want your money.
Yeah.
All right, maybe Judas didn't say that. I don't know. But anyway, but I'm saying, but we have to value each other. We're in a season now where we can say, okay, not because of no election. Can I say this?
It's your platform.
Oh, okay. The hell with the election. Okay, I'm going to be careful. But anyway, I'm a Christian, whether you like it or not. We have to say, okay, Black Lives Matter movement was powerful.
Yeah.
It raised up a consciousness all over this country.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we saw the president squash it. To all my good black Republican friends, squash it in a moment. But he can't squash the movement.
Exactly.
Okay? So now we've got to come back and say, okay, 4 years, over the next 4 years, what are our goals?
Mm-hmm.
And what are our targets? One of our big enemies is violence, not just police. Violence is an enemy in our community.
Right.
Education is an enemy in our community. Economic empowerment is an enemy in our community. Healthcare and health issues is an enemy in our community. Those are our targets. So we got to have a legislative agenda for those things. We have to have practical solutions that we can participate in ourselves, not begging nobody for nothing.
Yeah.
But empowering ourselves to go after things. All right? Getting our thinking people together so that, okay, here's the policies we need to support. Some of those things have come out of the Black Lives Matter movement. Okay? All right? And so we got to change the narrative. Okay? Yeah. Like you said earlier, this ain't about no doggone socialism.
Right. It's about people.
It's about people.
It's about us.
Right. And we're going to talk Christianity in this country. It's not going to be conservative Christianity, and it's not going to be liberal Christianity. It's going to be kingdom Christianity.
Yeah.
And a new look at the Word of God as it relates to biblical values, not conservative Christian values that have hoodwinked people to believe that evangelical Christianity is that crap and that biblical values is that crap, whether they black or white.
Yeah.
Color doesn't matter when you're wrong.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, yeah. At the end of the day, it's about people. And if we can see each other as allies over and against enemies, it's not necessarily a competition. I think that a lot of times that comes into play. There's a lot of ego that comes into play and that kind of thing where it's like, oh, I want to be the one. I gotta be in charge. But it ain't about any of that. If the thing ever becomes the thing, then all of that stuff is put to bed. Like, I'm pretty sure that Martin Luther King, his goal was not to be out front. His goal was for the work to be accomplished.
Well, I mean, and Dr. Moss is the benefit of having Dr. Moss in our lives as both a mentor and teacher, and then having the benefit, and you were so young you may not remember being a part of SCLC for so many years. And
oh yeah, they told me that I marched to Washington. I didn't even know that.
You marched on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. After they was telling me about it the other day. I'm like, hey, I don't remember that.
Yeah, but having sat with those pioneers, the late Dr. Joe Lowry and others, it was just and actually Dick Gregory. I mean, it was amazing. Rosa Parks. It was amazing to be with those individuals and to hear the stories, and then to hear the stories about how Dr. King became the leader. You know, it was interesting because I won't name any names, but it's like now. You know, there's a group of us who we're the senior leadership of the city, whatever the hell whatever that means, and you know, and then there's the younger guys, you know, and so I don't know why we have to have conflict. I don't know why we have generational separatism. I don't know why we have to have gender separatism, lifestyle separatism. I don't know why we have to have any of that stuff. Okay, there comes a point when things are so critical that we're looking for a leader when we need to be looking for solutions and opportunities.
Yeah.
All right. In those days, we can lift up leaders, whether it's Harriet Tubman. I heard something interesting this morning listening to Urban Radio, and a lady was saying how, you know, we look at those people who were black voices for Trump or these marginalized groups that he empowered that were never had a voice at the table, Proud Boys and others. And she was saying those are people Harriet Tubman would have left behind. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. And then I remember the movie Harriet Tubman because I had to do some some introspection watching her movie, you know.
Yeah.
And she was in a room full of black leaders, and you know, and they were saying how we needed to wait and how we needed to do this and that's the most powerful scene in the movie for me, okay?
Yeah.
And she said, see, that's the problem. Some of y'all got influence and some of y'all important. I'm going back to get my people.
Yeah.
So I asked a few of my friends, which one are you? You one with influence or you one that's important? And sometimes that becomes the agenda for some people. But if enough of us put our see, it's real easy for me to put my self-interest on the table. I've always been able to do that, but at this age, I can really do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, don't tell your sisters and your brother. Okay? Oh, they're going to listen to the podcast, right? Oh, man, shoot. But anyway, I got 9 grandchildren, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And can I make one more difference for them? That's my self-interest.
Right.
Okay, I've had positions, and I value that. But my self-interest is very different. I'm literally like that mother in the movie, eyes on the prize. I'm walking for my children. Yeah. And so can I make a difference? And if I can't, I would like to believe I would rather get out the way, and then push and support you guys, women, who can make that difference.
Yeah, but it's not the case. It's a lot of things is about insight, right? So that this becomes a spiritual conversation, as well as just knowing history.
Right.
So there is a certain level of insight and strategy that, without it, there can be no progress. There can be you can't reach the solution unless there's a certain level of insight, unless you understand the context in which we're operating in. So to think that, people who possess that insight are unnecessary is the most ignorant thing that there can be.
Well, again, when you have a modicum of success, it can either fuel your ego or it can fuel your passions for your next success opportunity.
Yeah.
So I've had the benefit for 40 years of being in a church where my dreams and my vision and even as a youth pastor, the things I wanted to do, I always had support.
Mm-hmm.
Always had a loving environment. I grew up in a family with the same thing. Today, that becomes a different story, okay? the other thing is that I know the benefit of coming in a room, and I've got the ability to say, okay, do I want to be important, or do I want to do something that's important? Do I want to be great, or do I want to do something that's great?
But that's the thing. Man, it's like sometimes it's like, okay, you want to, you can't do anything great by yourself. It's just not a thing.
Dustin Johnson did.
Who?
Dustin Johnson.
No, he didn't even do that by himself. He got a whole team of people.
His brother's his caddy.
Yeah, he got a whole team of people.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But I'm saying, so sometimes it's like you got to connect. You got to be connected, if you will, to.
Right. And see, what I took from the Black Lives Matters movement is for 1 minute, all right, can enough of us come together because they murdered George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, in our community, Tamir Rice.
Mm.
Can enough of us come together to say, we ain't gonna let y'all keep doing this?
Right. And but here we are again. But that's the word, community.
Absolutely.
It's a community effort.
And in my doctorate, to my credit, hey y'all, credit. I moved away from the term social justice and looked at the term community justice.
Yeah.
Not because social justice doesn't exist and it's a theological term, but we've allowed it to be co-opted. Like evangelical, we allowed it to be co-opted.
Yeah.
And so many terms have been co-opted over time that sometimes you need to insert something fresh just to get a new hearing of something that's purposeful and powerful, like social justice. And so that was my thinking at the time of writing my document, because I wanted to say, okay, Lord, how do we look at this today from a new lens, understanding that the principles from your word have not changed?
Yeah.
And community keeps, and again, I'm influenced by Moss, McMichaels, Myers, Cone, Kane Hopefelder, and Dr. Kelly Brown, some of the womenist theologians, and going to McCreary Center. I had the privilege to meet all those people and sit up under their teaching. And even though I'm the age I am, because I studied so long, I went to college for about 30 years.
I'm saying, yeah, that's just one phase. The studying hasn't stopped. That's just a part of life.
Now it's just easier. I go to YouTube University. But, the interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we don't provide ourselves with that opportunity, and today is this social media thing, and I'm so sorry that it took me so long to come to the dance, but now that I'm here, I'm going to shake a leg. I'm telling you.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it comes back to that whole idea of insight, or I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just because of what I've been looking at, what I've been studying. Just open their eyes, Lord.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
that's what I've been seeing. Because it's real easy to look at a situation and become overwhelmed and to look like we're surrounded or there's no way out. Especially as it relates to the violence, there's so much going on, and as a youth, I can only imagine. To see, okay, this is this situation. To basically, okay, see your friends, like, right, like if you have a best, like, I mean, I don't know, growing up, I'm not sure how many people that was killed, right? I mean, obviously, but it's like for that number to be like growing and growing, and it's like, okay, it's a level of trauma. It's a level of like, well, I'm coming into this cycle. It's just so much, and maybe I'm removed. Maybe I grow up in a situation where, okay, my friends aren't getting killed, but all of these young stars I look up to, they're getting killed, and it's just, I don't know. It's just it's very traumatic, and it's just like the psyche,
right,
is
We've seen the evolution of it. We were growing up. We had a few a few friends. I had a really good friend get killed. My little brother got killed.
Right.
The mother had a sister get killed. So we were, as a family, we weren't removed from it, even though I'd like to think that was not the norm in our life, and it wasn't the norm in our life.
Right.
It has evolved and escalated based upon so many different variables. But I was saying to James Box this morning is that the moment that we believe that God can't change something, why are we preaching?
No, 100%. 100%.
So I'm not on that train of hopelessness headed in the wrong direction.
Right.
Because I know what God can do with a heart, because I know what he did with my heart.
No.
And I used to believe if he could change me, he could change anybody on earth.
Yeah.
I don't care how bad they are. And so, but, you know, the one thing this pandemic has done is made us redefine how we do ministry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll feed several hundred families this week.
Right.
But they won't be coming into church like normal.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be, they'll be driving by and we'll be delivering it to them.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, just the whole paradigm shifts that's occurring, you know. Now I'm much more interested in digital relationships, digital curriculum, digital messaging. You know, we're back on the radio.
Yeah.
I've been on the Bishop Clark and I used to have a show called Impact Radio. You know, and I was the ghost host because I wasn't here half the time. I was traveling so much, but when I was there, we had he and I had a great time. You know, he's a great person. He's a great man of God, number one, a great bishop, number two, and he's a tremendous voice. You know, especially in his areas of strength. But you know, we're back on the radio, and that's WOVU 95.9 FM.
Yeah.
Sunday mornings at 11 o'clock. Yeah,
Tune
in. Right. Yeah. So, you know, we're back on the radio and maybe we'll expand that a little bit more because it's interesting how today you've got to put the message in as many markets as you want to touch.
100%.
You know, I might have to start rapping. I don't know.
Yeah. I know a couple producers. We could get you together.
Yeah, I was rapping in the joint. That's how I got my name. I went seriously. I got the name Notorious. That's how I got it.
Oh, man. So, I mean, you know, the work is there.
Is there.
I mean, and, you know, I'm committed to, I don't know, doing whatever I'm supposed to do. You know, I know that I'm committed to that.
Right. And see, I was really what I am as a community organizer. And I always had a principle that I added, you know, and I went through different community organizing work, whatever, and they always fell short to me because to me, even though everybody says they're altruistic or pure, to me, I can always identify their target.
Mm.
I didn't have a target. Oh, I did have a target, but it was racism, it was violence, it was education, it was all those themes I'm still seeing. If you look at our ministry for 30 years, the schools we've had, the after school, before school programs and things, you will see the consistency. Hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, the difference now is this. But I just believe that we're in a moment in a season, again, sparked by the Black Lives Matter movement, sparked by the history of our people's ability to endure and overcome. That's in our DNA as black people.
Yeah.
And we can't be afraid to talk black and be black and embrace partners from other ethnicities and groups who understand the power of humanity.
Yeah, and that's what I heard recently, and it was in a conversation that you would never expect it. And I'm not sure how recent it was, but basically, you know, it's like it's a new civil rights movement. We're amidst a new civil rights movement, and I like that language because it just lets you know where exactly we at. So, like, I'm like, yeah, I like that.
Well, if the young people embrace that idea, because I had started to reject it. Okay, because to me it was just an old people. Everybody at all the heads of the organization was too old, and you know, but even though I don't believe in a generational divide, I do believe that at some point, see this, you know, I just it's hard and that's the rebel in me. That's why I got this beard. The rebel in me just won't let me just run with definitions, okay? Because I just believe that there's a way for all of us to be leaders right now.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it comes back to this. The same way that, you know, at the end of the day, it boils down to valuing people. It's the same thing. I value what you bring to the table. You bring something to the table. I don't care who you are.
Everybody.
And I have to value what you bring to the table. You know something I don't know. You've experienced something I haven't experienced. You possess a gift, a skill, a talent that I don't. So it's both selfish and counterproductive to the movement to think that, oh, I just have this or this person just has that. You don't have it. No, we all have something to bring to the table. And if we can see that, you know, it's only better for all of us. They used to say, I had a coach who used to say, don't worry about your slice of the pie. Make the pie bigger.
Right. I like the thing that I was in one of the banks this week, and they had a thing up there is that civil rights and equal access belong to everybody. It's not a pie.
Yeah, there we go. Exactly.
I asked the young lady who was the teller, I said, well, who makes y'all message board? Because it was some powerful stuff. And maybe somebody has said that before, and I just don't know who it is. And I didn't have time between then and now to do any research on it, but it struck me. You know, another brother was on Urban Radio today, and he said, you have to forgive. All right, and to credit to whoever you are, and I wish I didn't get his name because they didn't say it. He was a call-in to the program, but he was a minister, and he was a teamster, a trucker. Mm-hmm. And he said that, you know, when you don't forgive, all right, he said that's like drinking poison, waiting on the other person to die.
Yeah, exactly. It's a toxicity that exists within yourself.
Absolutely.
Holding on to that.
So we got whatever beefs we have with each other, organizationally, individually, whatever, we got to forgive that stuff. Stop drinking the poison of division, the poison of chaos, the poison of hate, and enough of us, you know. And I think for enough of us in strong black cities come together, the Barnabases will come, the white, other people of conscience will be there. And don't worry about the haters and the folk who gonna stand out and throw stones. And that's what they do. That's all they know to do. And then maybe at some point when thou art strengthened, thou can convert thy brother and thy sister.
Yeah.
So let's get strong first.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Well.
No, we got a couple more things.
Okay.
I know we getting close to time, but I mean, I guess we haven't really talked about the election.
Oh, how did we talk this long and not talk about the doggone election?
Yeah, I don't know. So, what you
wine. Shut up and go to Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, that's what. It's funny, but then again, no. Because we not enemies at the end of the day. Like, oh, you're a Democrat. Oh, you're a Republican. Oh, you're neither. At the end of the day, we all in the same boat. So it's like,
yeah. Well, you know, people. You know, about a month ago, you remember when I told you, and I told the church, the Lord told me to get out of that stuff, to bring too much toxicity onto my spirit, and I'm a spiritual person who has a responsibility to represent the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
And the moment I start taking sides and all that stuff, and, you know, I have to be careful because I have to ask myself, okay, you know, where's this coming from? You know, because I don't believe in parties, though I support Democrats. And right now, really, they probably get a bigger benefit from me because of toxicity in the Republican Party and the lack of leadership. I don't like parrots.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you're a parrot, I mean, I have to respect you as a human, but I ain't listening to nothing you have to say.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're going to be a black voice for Trump, that's okay. But don't be a doggone parrot. I have a friend, I'm going to call his name, who is a black voice, black evangelical, black Republican. He fighting with them every year. I'm talking about in major battles, on major floors, in major audiences. about the definition of biblical values being expanded to include racism. So he is that, but he is a true black voice. Okay. So you can't be a black voice for Trump and deny racism. Well, let's take Trump out of it. A black Republican and deny racism. A black Republican and then buy into conservative values, because conservative values are the Confederate values while those statues still exist. They would lynch us if they could get away with it, and they lynch us in other ways because they can get away with it.
Yeah.
So the presidential election is just another expression of a divided country, number one. Number two, people keep telling me, but he got 70 million votes, and I don't care. Elections are won. They are a contest. And in this case, there's only one winner. This is not horseshoes, okay? So it doesn't matter how many votes he got. He lost.
Yeah.
Lost. And then to top it off, he did something Democrats haven't been doing lately. They've been winning the popular vote. He won the doggone real vote. Black folk didn't even know about the Electoral College. Lord forgive me. A lot of folk didn't even know about the Electoral College until 2000. What's that? What the hell is that? They done stole the election. 2000, okay? So he won the Electoral College by 306 Electoral College votes. And what does that mean? Well, in 2016, when this president won by that many, it was a landslide.
Yeah.
No, that's what everybody said on his side. So what was it this time? Oh, they stole the election. So 75 million people set up one night on Zoom and said, hey, y'all, we going to steal this thing.
Yeah. I'm be interested.
No, wait. Okay, we put a virus in the computer. So the virus went in and said, let's erase all the Trump votes and let's flip Biden to Trump and let's confuse the computers.
No, I mean, if it's for me, then it's
I know
for
normal people that I thought was normal up until Tuesday, November 4th, who believe that stuff.
Power of the media.
70% of Republicans still believe Obama was born in Kenya.
That's what I mean.
12 years later. And then I hear, can we call names on this program without being sued?
Yeah.
I'll check on that with the legal department first. Black brother comes on Fox News, used to work for Obama, and he's talking about, well, Obama should be careful what he's saying because a lot of those white people, and I know them, I've been on the ground with them, now he's hating on them. He's not hating on them in his book. He's telling the truth about the racist actions that took place because he was the president.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So the election is over. Now we start preparing for the Olympics for the next 4 years by participating in local elections, looking at local agendi, and determining what's in the best interest of black folk in these places, not other black folk. Now we got to build coalitions and we got to invite other partners. I understand that. What is in the best interest of black people?
Yeah, but I mean the work's not over. So in places like Georgia. Yeah, everybody I know down there, all our members are supporting Pastor Dr. Reverend Arnoff and Warnock and Ossoff, the other young man, and so Pastor Warnock, forgive me. And this guy, we talking about prepared, academically, prepared, all the engagements and the play. They're trying to hate on him because in 1995, and that means they don't know nothing about Abyssinia Baptist Church. Exactly.
Okay. All right, they had Fidel Castro. Well, that's where King preached one of his sermons against the Vietnam War.
Right.
That's who Abyssinia is. All right, he had nothing to do with that. He was a youth pastor. That's good training ground, not just for social justice, for what real community ministry is.
Yeah.
Okay? It has been and prayerfully always will be one of the beacon lights in the world about hope and opportunity, about how to engage. And anyway, he's pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, which was, the King family church. He is just a great man of God. Plus, as far as being prepared, he is ready for this moment to serve Georgia and this country.
Yeah, that would be that would be just.
Yeah, it would be. It would be awesome. It'd be incredible. And for those of us who are into that, we should support his campaign. Whatever level you can, and everybody in Georgia, and all us know somebody in the ATL, baby.
Yeah, 100%.
Get them out, But everybody I know, they so excited. See that runoff. You know why that runoff exists?
Why is that?
Because what they used to do, all right, and this came out of, I think, what year, is that, okay, if a black won, they made sure they had to get at least 50%. So if you didn't get 50%, then there would be this runoff.
Right.
Why? Because they hoped that the blacks wouldn't come out the second time.
Exactly. And the hope that it hasn't changed.
And so here's where Stacey Abrams, man, she gonna be the next governor of Georgia. And that boy down there, he had to call the recount for Trump purposes, but he know he in trouble. Okay,
yep.
She registered 800,000 folk to vote by herself. Now I'm gonna be a little stereotypical because I love your mama. Shoot, you can't diss no black woman.
Facts.
Steal something from them, okay. But when you look at her preparation, her academic preparation, her politics, what she's been able to accomplish, who she is individually, come on, man. I mean, she's powerful. And a lot of people are trying to recreate her and her movement in other places across the country, which is incredible. So I don't think with the kind of leadership they have down there right now, the pastors, the elected officials, the Democratic Party, I don't think they're going to allow us not to come back the second time. I think, unfortunately, they're going to lose on that one, too.
Yeah. Yeah. That just makes you just.
Well, there are critical dates up until now, and they can even register new people to vote.
Right.
And so it's just a lot going on. It's pretty exciting. I remember when Dr. McMichael ran for a couple offices here, we were all excited and supporting his campaign. So to have a pastor running, we're a fraternity to some degree too, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
He'll bring real biblical values.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wasn't anticipating. So when they made the announcement, though, I wasn't anticipating it at the time. I thought it was going to be a lot more drawn out than that, but it was like, oh, okay. As far as Joe Biden.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, again, Democrats are popular, and they won the popular vote.
Mm-hmm.
He was strategic because that's what they're not. Republicans are strategic. They've taken 27 states. The certain red states been red so long. They were the ones created red. Okay, right. All right. But they've taken states by taking the state legislatures, gerrymandering or drawing the lines based on the census, and they've done that so well, and they're getting ready to do it again. So if you wait for the Olympics, you're only playing in a portion of the game. Because states' rights in this country is what drives most of the things that's going to affect our lives. Now, the federal government could intervene, like Voter Rights Act, Fair Housing, Civil Rights Act, Affordable Care Act, which you see they fight every day, which is why I could never be a Republican, because they fight against all of those things.
Right.
Okay? And it's not about me. It's about my community. Okay? Unfortunately, because we don't participate at the local level like we should, and at the state level, okay, or hold our elected state people accountable or engage them, they're moving strategically across the country.
Yeah.
One thing I liked about Biden, though.
What's that?
I'm sure John McCain would be real happy right now. He did not know that he was dissing that man.
Still.
All right. And that the name McCain was bigger than the name Trump in Arizona.
I mean, like that's just an ignorant.
Right.
So I don't know.
Well, and we'll get a little hate for this, but when I brought McCain in some years ago, because he supported us in Arizona for fugitive safe surrender and got everybody to the table we needed to get to the table. He was Republican. I work with Republicans and Democrats, as everybody knows. And he helped open the door for us with the U.S. attorneys. And I met Sheriff Joe Aparo, okay?
Yeah.
Spent some time with his people. So, it was just interesting to see that he could flip Arizona, Georgia. All right, and see, people don't know them Pennsylvanians, okay? Even though Biden was from Delaware, okay, he grew up in Pennsylvania.
Mm.
They can only tell so many lies on him before them folk in Pennsylvania be like, who signed that Biden boy?
Yeah.
All right, Pennsylvania's a strange place, man. He was focusing on Phil. He was focusing, the president was focusing on the black areas.
Mm-hmm.
But Pennsylvania, man, it's a different kind of place.
Yeah, it is a different kind of place.
Oh, I mean, this dude right here, you could have a biracial couple. Right here, you could have Ku Klux Klan. Right here, you could have a black couple.
Yeah.
I mean, certain parts of Pennsylvania, because that's where your granddad is from, man. I've been going around them hills all my life.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see him, quote unquote, create the blue wall or impact the blue wall, and and I'm sure that's humbling for the president. He's not one to be humble much, so he needs prayer.
100%.
Yeah, we'll pray for him.
Yeah.
But we think he needs to follow McConnell. See, McConnell has all these folk about to be evicted because he would not pass a stimulus. Nancy Pelosi became the fall girl for it, but it was all him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and those of us who are truly woke, we know it was him because Democrats passed the stimulus bill in May. He didn't wait till 2 weeks before the thing was to run out before he even started talking.
Right.
So they never had any intention of passing the bill.
Yeah.
And the president kept saying, pass a bill. Well, if he was serious, he could have told them to pass a $10 trillion bill and they would have passed it. And they would have shut up and told the line.
Mm.
So to let them off the hook was really a shame.
Yeah. Well, I don't got much left. But speaking of Georgia, last time we was here, I got to get your take on this one, especially since you talk about rapping. We was talking about.
I got some connects in ATL.
Yeah, we was talking about verses. So it was supposed to be Jeezy and T.I.
Oh man!
But it's changed. It's this Thursday. Now T.I. has been replaced. Gucci.
Oh man!
So it's
well,
Gucci and Jeezy.
Well, see, I had a challenge with T.I. Now he don't know me and I don't know him, but I just like his whole family thing. But if now, I guess it's just easy for me to make up my bag. I ain't got nothing against who you say the other one is.
Gucci Mane.
Oh, that's Derek's boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but still.
Jeezy.
I'm going with Jeezy. I had a little challenge, when it was him and T.I., but I ain't go with him with no trouble.
Yeah, so we gonna see. Now it's a lot more. It's more wrinkles to this than you might know, because and I thought it was fake at first because they posted it on social and I was like, what? No, because they've had real situations, not like rap beef, but like beef. Like I ain't gonna go too deep with it, but like they had the real situation. But the thing about
they're not gonna be in the same studio, are they?
No, this is the thing. Lately, because with the whole technology piece early on, it wasn't so good because they was being on Instagram Live coming from different places, so the sound would get messed up. So to correct that problem, they've been all in the same place. And right as of now, as far as I know, they're gonna be in the same place. So it's like, but the thing is, if they're able to come together after everything that they've been through, that message is huge, especially considering the conditions that we're in right now. Because just over the past couple of weeks, there have been a bunch of rappers who have been shot. Several have been killed.
Right.
Some of those were rap beefs. So if we can see these two gentlemen come together, despite everything that they've been through, that would be huge.
Right. Let's pray to that end. That they both, somebody wins the battle, and that I don't guess they could tie.
See, once they started coming to the same place, the temperature sort of changed, which this will be different. So initially it was a battle, but when they get in the same room, it's been more like, okay, we celebrating each other and we just celebrating our historic careers and our legacy. So we'll see. We'll see.
Oh man, I want nothing to happen to either one of them, man.
No, and that's the thing about it. And I don't know why I'm bringing this into the podcast, but up until this point, and when you talk about T.I., so they've all had little situations like Gucci.
So who's the Godfather? Who's the shot caller? Who can say, let's do this differently for a while?
I don't know. I couldn't say, but that's what I was getting to. So basically, like you said, T.I. got a podcast. Jeezy and T.I. was on there, so that these are all like the originators of trap music. So they was talking about like maybe a trap Hall of Fame or a trap museum, and they was both basically saying like, well, it would be disingenuous for us to put this together if we didn't include, bruh. Yeah. I don't know if they said his name or whatever. But they both said, at this point in life, saying, I'm willing to put it to the side. I don't know if he is. And I'm like, well, for him to even acknowledge them, because he wouldn't even acknowledge them. To acknowledge that, it may mean that they're moving in the right direction.
That would be incredible. So that's because that's probably, when we look back over the last 25 years, whatever the truth is behind their deaths, the loss of Biggie and Tupac is, to our detriment as a community because of their gift and their creativity and just who they were. And every time we lose one of those young men or young women, one of those guys, ladies, it's just that thing that they bring taken away. And it's the same thing, and I've said this at so many of the funerals I've done where the person was shot and killed, is that, all of that stuff, that all their potential now that was unrealized was probably so much more than the thing that, brought them to a life's end.
Yeah.
And as we close on a different note, and prayerfully a lighter note, I was on the phone with Leonard King, Dr. King, the president of the Baptist Ministers Conference with the Hall of Fame this week.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And talked to Akil Blunt, Mel Blunt's son, and he's now in charge of a classic. They're going to build a classic right here in Canton.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's had just all the other classics are still going to go on all over the country, all over the South. But we're going to be able to build a classic right here in Canton because they put the Black Football Hall of Fame in the Hall of Fame. It's down there now. And so he works for that, Akil Blunt. And so we got a lot going on and a lot of things we're going to be doing that just bless children. Give them that experience. Plus, the classic, we have a good time. I think it's going to be Grambling and they haven't nailed down the other school yet, but I know it's going to be Grambling. And so, that's Black culture at its best. The Greeks, and the divine. Just the whole bit is pretty powerful. And it's a good time, and prayerfully it's next September, so there'll be a handle on this COVID thing where we can actually go to the stadium. We'll see. But we're planning it. And, I don't want to say it like I'm some big thing to do with it, but we're reaching out to all over the state of Ohio to begin to promote it and to and whether, we don't know what 2021 is going to look like yet, but it's something that they're committed to building annually, and we want to build it to the point that our classic can, here in the North, can rival the classics all over the country because down south, we've had it here a couple times.
Yeah, I've gone.
When you go down south, Oh man,
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
yes.
So last thing I forgot to ask you about to that kind of connected to that is so they've announced that the NBA is coming back next month. So it's a pretty quick turnaround. So what you think?
Well, I mean,
And I heard that they're going to allow fans in the stadium or in the arena. So that'll be interesting.
well, the NBA can come back.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't coming back. This goes back to my faith in the pandemic, I guess. Whoever don't think I have done, but and again, that's being worked out, and we know the economy behind it, and for those business owners and those players, that's their decision, their family's decision as to when and how. And I never tell another man how to earn his income, another woman how to earn their
100%.
income. So I'm a fan. I'll be watching on TV. I'm not going down to the what is our new name? Field House.
Rocket Mortgage Field House.
Yeah, I'm not going down there, even if we have a private suite, because right, again, vaccine coming out. The drugs are going to be better, I guess.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it play out. Because I can imagine like LeBron just coming off this late finals, just coming right back.
Well, I think that's going to be the question. Are the superstars going to play this quick?
I mean, some of them been home, some of them been chilling, but people that competed in the
that's true. It was only 2 teams left.
No, I mean anybody that competed in the bubble, they're on a short time, but a lot of teams, they didn't make it, so right. they've been rested.
Yeah, they have. So it's going to be interesting. We'll determine. We try to get in a few games each year. Try to get in some Brown stuff, which we haven't been able to do. Some Ohio State stuff, which we haven't been able to do. And no, I didn't go to any high school things this year, which is not normal for me.
Right.
I prefer high school over all of it, and then I look college next, and then pros next. And that's how we've lived our life. But it'll be interesting. I think they're trading Chris Paul to the Phoenix Suns. He's leaving the Thunder, I think. I think I read that somewhere. They were working out a deal.
Yeah, it's a lot of movement going on.
Oh yeah.
Russell,
they trying
to be getting out of there.
They trying to, they're trying to get it together.
And in the midst of all of that, we ain't got nothing going
on. Well, see, that's you young people, all right, you came up during the LeBron era.
No, I'm thankful, and I always know, in the era, that was my whole thing throughout the whole time. All the hate, all the people talking all this junk. I'm like, the time will come when he's not here, and all of this that we've been experiencing will go away.
Well, see, I remember we were at the arena, and then I remember the years out in Richfield. Okay, and
yeah, we must be closer to that, because this is worse than the pre-LeBron era when we had like Boozer and Z and those guys. At least we could compete a little bit. But it's like
I lived out there during that time. You weren't born. Me and my friend would buy a ticket, and there was nobody to tell us not to go sit in the good seats.
No, man. But the Cavs have had some glory.
Oh no, we had some great teams.
This ain't it.
No, we just
unfortunately, and I don't want to sound like that.
During the Jordan era, different eras, we came along, and we had some great teams and some great players. I mean, even back then, we did. Austin Carr, Brad Daugherty, we had some great players.
It's just tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. And it was inevitable. But to go from we won the most games in the NBA this year to
yeah, and I'm sure Golden State felt like that last year.
Yeah, man.
But the Splash Brothers will be back this year.
Yeah, and they it's a lot going there. It'll be a very interesting season. But given the context, I just wonder how it all plays out. But all right, we could talk about that all day.
Yeah, well, we had the Masters in November. That speaks to 2020.
Right. So 2021, you only imagine how crazy it's going to be.
Well, unfortunately, the COVID is spiking. We're up to 11 million or more people, and 184,000 people in one day. That thing is starting to go from 100,000 a day. Now we're upwards. We're reaching, if something doesn't change in the next 60 days, 200,000 people.
Mm.
If you get to 200,000 people a day, can you imagine what that means?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Numbers are incredible. And, you know, we're going to have, you know, unless Warnock and the other Democrat wins in Georgia, we're going to have the same guy in charge of the Senate. He won 6 more years. He's an avowed racist. He's a Confederate. I mean, he's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Why would he do anything to help anybody, let alone Joe Biden?
Right.
You know, but here's what I believe. I believe some things are going to occur and materialize that's going to change how we do politics.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm not going to let that secret out yet.
Well, you know, it's time for, what did we say all those episodes ago? System update required.
Yep, it'll be interesting. Well, hey, son, I really enjoyed talking to you today.
Hey, man, you know, anytime.
See you next time.
All right.
Hey, y'all, remember, we're on the radio Sundays at 11 also. WOVU 95.9 FM. I use my radio voice.
That was more of an AM voice.
Oh, okay.
No.